Okay, this is the last chapter of the tutorial. Well done for making it all this way. Now we're adding that extra little special piece of hair to the model. And in your project folder, you will have a link to this set of brushes. It's the Mag Hair Clump and Detail brushes. You can find a free link to that on Gumroad. They're excellent brushes just for making some different kind of strains of hair. There are probably other brushes out there as well. This is just one I came across that I thought really it fitted my needs. So like most of these kinds of brushes, geometry brushes that you drag out, it's all controlled by your brush size. One thing I would recommend here is what I did as well, is turn on lazy mouse. Is that what it's called? Yeah, and just up the lazy radius a little bit, just so I can get some softer strands. Like it's easy when you're using these kinds of brushes to get a lot of undulation when you're working on your surface. One thing that you should note with this kind of brush is that you can't use this brush on your normal mesh that has subdivision levels. So what I've done is I just simply duplicated the main mesh, went to the lower subdivision level, deleted the higher subdivision levels, and then that's the mesh that I'm using as our curve guide, basically.
Yeah, then you can very easily just delete everything but the curves now afterwards.
Yeah.
And just merge them back if you want to, or keep them separate, whatever you prefer.
So this brush has some openings on the start of the curve. So for this brush to work how I want it to work, I just go in and close the holes basically, and then sort of just start to dig the hair into the real hair, the hair strand, the individual strands into the real hair. And you can see we're trying to follow the general curves that we've laid down of the hair before. This is what we talked about earlier with the standard brush, where you get it in there and you have some shapes where we can then have hair interlock a little bit. And then, as a really nice feature here, you can just enable auto groups for polygroups. That just means that once you start working with, like you can see in the beginning here when we're smoothing everything. So everything we're touching with the smooth brush gets smoothed. So by using polygroups and auto masking by polygroups, you can find that on a brush, auto masking and mask by polygroups. That feature allows you to, both with your smooth brush, your move brush, your clay buildup brush, whatever, to only affect one polygroup at a time. It's a pretty handy feature, and it just allows you to work on multiple meshes like this that are connected to the same subtool without interfering sort of like with the other subtools or the other meshes.
Love that feature.
Yeah.
So handy.
So what I found worked really well for this kind of hair was to taper it in the front and the back as well. Like you probably make a brush, I should probably have made a brush that did this from the beginning, tapered in the front and the back. That would just speed things up a little bit. And then have it be thicker in the center. Of course, that is obviously not how hair is. It's a little more stylized. And these hair strands are also bigger than, most of your hair would be. But it just helps sell the detail level a little better, especially now with the lashes that we've added, because the lashes add quite a bit of fidelity. So we just want to make sure that everything else in the model is kind of up to the same level of detail. And then here you can see this is just digging it into the, sort of like interlocking it with the hair mesh below. At this point we've just hidden, maybe deleted, I think, the other part of the hair, our curve guide hair, just so we can see what's happening with our strands on top. And honestly, at this point, I'm not focusing too much on the connection between the bun and the head, just because I've also kind of established the pose that I want and the direction that I want her to look from. And you can see that we don't actually see the connecting part of the back of the hair strand. So I felt no need to integrate those in a super nice way. Just so they wrap around a little bit and they don't stick out, obviously. That was important.
Everything matters when it comes to doing an appealing sculpt like this, and just adding these subtle little things at the end can just be enough to just add like 1%. Yeah. Everything counts.
Yeah, and it's actually like when you see the finished result, the end of this, where you just integrate a little bit, I don't know, maybe like 20, 30 strands of a little bit of stylized hair, that just helps to, bring it all together a little bit better.
Yeah.
I honestly had no idea if this was going to work in the beginning, but it seemed to make sense to me. So
yeah, you got to experiment with stuff.
Yeah, because I never tried making hair like this before. So
it looks a bit like spaghetti.
Yeah, it does look a little bit, especially when you're working on a mesh like this, where ZBrush things get shaded down when they're not active. A trick that I use for that is next to the eye icon in your subtool palette, next to your subtool, you can enable the little texture button, and by doing that, it sort of enables a constant light on your other subtool as well. So there won't be, you can see the face right now is darker than the hair strands, but by enabling that button, they will be lit the same way. It's a good way to sort of sanity check as you're sculpting, because it can be quite hard to check, wait, what does my hair actually look like when it's connected? Kind of like this here. So I just clicked it there, and now it just integrates a lot better because there's not that big of a contrast difference there. And if you wanted to take this even further, you would probably add that to the hair bun as well. And the kinds of strands that I've added here, they just follow the form perfectly. They sit on top of the hair, but maybe you could add a few smaller strands as well that just protrude out a little bit. They just go off of the surface just a little bit, just to catch a little more light. So yeah, just moving it into place a little bit. That way I feel like it integrates better with the hair and it doesn't look like it just sticks out as much.
Yeah, you could also make one of them stand out a little bit, just to add a bit of variation to it, but totally up to you.
This one was sticking out too much for me, for my liking, so kill it.
Kill everything which sticks out.
Yeah. So, and then this was just a one pass of the hair, right? If I were to do more of it, I would probably go in and add a few more strands. But yeah, that about concludes it for all of this. So we would like to thank you very, very much for supporting us and purchasing this tutorial, and we hope you got a lot out of this. So thank you.
Thank you very much.